Well, a very good afternoon, everybody. This is the 1st of September. Gulf Harbour Radio, Patricia and David with you, ZMH 286. And hard to believe, but some people think this is the first day of spring. Meteorologically speaking, I think we wait until the middle of September, but it's good enough for us to keep cheerful because it has been a delightful day here in New Zealand. Well, this part of the world anyway, so we're not complaining, although it's going to turn to custard for the weekend. But at the moment it's 16 degrees, a couple of knots from the north, which is always appreciated, 1022, but dropping. And of course the cloud has come in, 90% cloud cover. So, well, not to worry too much because after a few days the front will go through, and then maybe next week we'll really start to think that it's going to be spring. Certainly the garden is looking like spring. Daffodils and freesias and little buds coming on fruit trees and stuff like that. I'm not going to give you hardly any news tonight because we covered that last night, didn't we? What was going on in the world. But we will not be on from today for a good week because of various things. One of them being that all my radials have to come off the roof for it to be replaced. But we will be away and only contactable by email, ghradio@extra.co.nz. If anyone wants to start thinking about coming back in what is likely to be El Nino conditions, you can go onto our website and look at the various papers that David has got about sailing to New Zealand. And we haven't actually got anything about sailing to Australia because when we started off this show, we didn't really think that people would go to Australia, did we? But anyway, a lot of you do go to Australia, and that's certainly a lot easier than coming to New Zealand, admittedly, going via New Caledonia or whatever you decide to do. But we do concentrate on coming to New Zealand because there's a few more things to think about. All right, so I'm going to pass before we call boats in, I'm going to pass the microphone to David. He can give you an update of what's going on in the Southwest Pacific. It looks like Fiji's had a lot better day today than it had yesterday, which is nice. But New Cal has got a worse day than they had yesterday. Never mind. Here's David.
I don't need to say anything more. She covered most of it. Yeah. Well, there is a lot of activity actually in the Southwest Pacific. We did have a subtropical low that formed between Vanuatu and New Caledonia, and it's rapidly moved to the south. It's right now, it's about 27 south and roughly 172 east. And it's wound up pretty good, quite a bit of wind in it. And it's throwing up a trough that goes up all the way up to the Solomons. Actually, the trough, there's two troughs really. One is running over, from the Solomons to this low, going over Vanuatu, although most of the cloud that I'm seeing right now, this is on satellite imagery that's only an hour old, the clouds are quite broken, and what clouds there are fairly low and don't have much in the way of precipitation. The second one is going over the Loyalties, mainly in about half of Grand Terre in New Caledonia. And that one goes from the Solomons as well to what I just said, and then onward to that low. Now that low is actually going to merge with another low that is between Sydney and New Zealand. So it will become one big low, if you will, one big depression, and that's what's going to be giving us a fair amount of grief through, well, certainly through Sunday up here in northern New Zealand. In fact, Sunday is going to be a very poor day for doing anything, and unfortunately we have things to do. But anyway, that's what's going to happen there. There is another trough, which is fairly active. It runs from Rotuma to just north of Samoa, although right now Samoa is out of the worst of it, from what I can see. So it's a rather short trough in terms of distance. It goes from Rotuma to, well, pretty much to the longitude of Futuna. And but it is active, and there's some very, very high clouds, and they are squally ones, and thunderstorms abound and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of broken cloud over Fiji as well. And there's a few areas in Fiji that are getting showers, typical tropical sort of thing. And Tonga has got, well, I would say maybe about 30% cloud. And they are fairly low, although the New Potatoes area may have some rather quick-moving clouds that are fairly high, and they can bring rain and squalls, but they're moving pretty fast, so it's hard to say what's going to happen tomorrow. And anyway, there is a very big high that's south of Tonga, way south of Tonga, and east of New Zealand. And that's throwing up its anticyclonic isobars all the way up to the Fiji area. And that high, its isobars, are clashing with the high that is more or less centered over around the Sydney area. So between those two highs, we've got this low I just talked about, and you can see how easily the wind direction shifts will cause this low to wind up. You have some fairly strong 20-25 knots coming out of the north to north-northeast. That's coming from the high that's east of New Zealand. And then you've got winds coming out of the southwest, basically, that's coming from the high that's over Sydney. And so that's all in clash mode, and that is what is supporting this low that has wound up. And speaking of highs and all that sort of thing, as we go into El Nino conditions, and we're building up to El Nino at the moment. We're not fully into it yet, and probably will not be until October, November timeframe. But that means pretty much the highs that we like to see are going to be higher in, well, they're going to be more north of New Zealand. They'll be lower in latitude. So in other words, the center of them is probably going to be between 25 and 30 south, whereas the reverse happens when you're in La Nina, when those highs were much lower to the south. It's always confusing when you say lower and higher when the latitudes go the other way around. But anyway, that's what's happening as this El Nino develops. And as these highs are further north, they're going to create some interesting weather scenarios for you folks as you're planning on moving to other places other than the islands. So anyway, that's it from me. I'll pass it to the chief, and we'll go from there.
Well, I said I wasn't going to give you any news, but I will tell you one little thing. It's about cannabis, because the department, this is in the US, and most countries sort of follow on from there. Department of Health and Human Services has called for an easing of restrictions on marijuana by reclassifying it as a Schedule 3 substance. This was in a letter to the Drug Enforcement Administration. The DEA is now initiating a review of the drug, which is currently classified as a Schedule 1 controlled substance, which is really meant for the most dangerous substances, including heroin and LSD and stuff like that. So last year, evidently, President Biden urged a review of how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. And as the wheels of government ground on this week, the recommendations have taken a step further, and the DEA will make the final authority on whether to make changes to marijuana's scheduling, and it will then go through the rule-making process. Well, that would be a good thing, wouldn't it? It would give the police something to do other than stupid things. All right, this is Gulf Harbour Radio. Is there anybody out there wanting to say hello or goodbye? We'll be gone for a week. Please call now. I have got somebody there, but it's not all that strong. Can you come again and say where you are? Over. Sonrisa, I do have you, and you are nearing Samoa. David's just having a look. Do you want to give me your position and conditions? Over.
Yes, okay. Our position is 1335 minutes. 172 degrees 30 west.
Yep, carry on. You're coming through clearly now. Course, speed, and weather. Over.
Okay, our course is 247 degrees true, speed 6 knots, conditions, wind around 20 east southeast, speed 2 to 3 meters east southeast, about 95% cloud cover, but no rain.
Just about there.
Okay, so it sounds like you're just about there. Actually, David was talking about the weather up there before. Sonrisa, 1359 south, 17230 west, course 247 true 6 knots, 20 knots east-southeast with seas 2 to 3 metres east-southeast, 95% cloud cover, but no rain. How far have you got to go? Over.
We are en route to Fiji. We have 520 nautical miles to go.
Oh, I misunderstood you. I thought you were going to Samoa. So you are going to Fiji from there. I guess you left Samoa. So you're heading to Fiji, 520 miles to go. Just stand by. David will dust off the crystal ball here. Doesn't sound very comfortable at the moment, though. Is all well on board? Over.
Yeah, all is well on board. It is a little bumpy. We are
Yep, okay. Well, we'll see what he's got in store. Stand by.
Well, I've jumped a couple of days and looking at Sunday, moving you along toward Fiji. And we're looking at a fair amount of wind. Well, it's not much, not a fair amount. Fresh wind, gusts maybe up to about 22, 23 knots. And in terms of anticipation of any troughs, I'm just taking a look at that now. No, you're looking pretty good. Actually, leaving Samoa was a good move because on Sunday, it looks like they're having a fair amount of rain over Apia and the rest of Samoa due to a very short trough there. And on your way, most of the cloud that I see, I'm looking at prognosis of cloud buildups and rain. Doesn't look too bad. So anyway, most of the winds on that trip. Just do you have an ETA for us at this time? Over.
Approximately early Wednesday morning.
Early Wednesday morning.
Okay, I've got early Wednesday. Now, I hope that's our Wednesday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that gets a little bit confusing. So anyway, let's see what things. You're going into Sabu Sabu, I would assume. Over.
That is correct. We will be entering Sabu Sabu.
Yep.
Okay, wait one.
I can take it if you want.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just while he's exploring other things, looks like a few of you have taken off. You are behind Esmeralda, a German boat, and there's a British boat, Kumo, and Skyfall, another Brit boat, ahead of you. They might be going to Tonga, those two. They're on a slightly different course from you and Esmeralda. I'm just looking as to see whether there's any heavy traffic. No, there's no heavy traffic around. Back to David.
Well, there's going to be a fair amount of breeze arriving in the Sabu Sabu area, although once you turn the corner, there's no problem there. But just outside of Taveuni and the mainland of Viti Levu and so forth, the winds are going to be about 20 to 30 knots out of the southeast. I'd say 20 to 30 out of the southeast. I don't see any precipitation, but there is high wind areas that are pretty much from the Fiji area north right up to past Rotuma, north of Rotuma, and actually all the way over to Samoa one way and all the way over to Vanuatu the other. So you're caught up in that, and that's due to the high pressure to the south. So anyway, looks like it'll be fairly dry getting in there, but a bit of breeze. Over.
Thank you, David. That trough you were talking about over Samoa at the moment, which direction was that trough running?
The one over Samoa at the moment, which direction is it running?
The trough that was over Samoa has basically dissipated, but it's continued in good fashion just to the west of Samoa, and it goes almost due west from there. It is not going in the direction that you are going, although there are some clouds that are between Rotuma and Tonga. If you were to draw a line, on that line would be the band of clouds that I see, but they'll be dissipated by the time Wednesday rolls around, so I wouldn't worry about that now. But I am looking at the forecast for the possibility of rain, cloud, squalls, and so forth on Wednesday. I don't see it. It's well to the north, fairly active, but a direct line between Samoa and Sabu Sabu. Yes, there are some clouds, but they're not too bad that I could see. I'm going to give it back to the chief, and I'm going to look at that forecast. Hang on.
Okay, and just whilst he's doing that, is there just still the two of you on board? Over.
Yes, there's just the two of us on board, Ollie and Sunset, and I did want to mention that, yes, 5 boats from Samoa today. I think 3 headed to Tonga, and then I know Esmeralda and Ash are headed to Sabu Sabu, and a few more boats leaving tomorrow from Samoa as well to head to Sabu Sabu.
Thanks for that information. Was all the The official procedures are okay and reasonably straightforward in Samoa. We haven't had a report this year, over.
Yeah, the check-in and check-out was all really easy and very friendly. It's a very, very friendly country, and I would recommend anyone to stop there by all means.
Oh, that sounds good. Excellent news. So, those other weights did look as if they were splitting off to Tonga, so that's interesting. There was something, that's right, and this is for you and everybody else. We are not on next week, but for those that want to keep track and check in, don't forget you have Maritime Radio New Zealand do a great job of taking calls any time of the day or night. They're on 24/7. Just call in on any of the emergency frequencies and they will move you to a working frequency. Then if there is anything else you need, then they often contact us, or they can contact if there's a medical problem. Otherwise, they just take your position and keep a record of things. So the emergency frequencies, folk, everybody on board should know how to get through quickly on the emergency frequencies. In the evening, 4125-6215, this time of the night, and in the morning, 82901. In the middle of the day, 12290. So just make sure everybody on board knows how to dial up. Most of the radios that you have will have those preset, actually. So they will move you to a working frequency to get all the information. They have very good ears, so even very light signals get picked up. So if you call in, for example, in the evening on 4125, they will move you to 4146 and so on and so forth. At this time of the night, if you called on 82901, the emergency, they would move you to 82907. Anyway, back to David for some research.
Okay, well, what I've done is I've taken a look at what the cloud and rain forecast is on, say, Rumline from Apia to Savu Savu. So I'm looking at Monday, Tuesday, and early Wednesday morning. And for the most part, there's just scattered cloud from what I could see, although the troughs are building. Clouds are building within the troughs, but you look like you'll beat it. Wednesday morning, the estimate is about 30% cloud and scattered showers. It doesn't look like we're dealing with major squalls or anything of that nature, but it is going to be a fresh wind. So, yeah, it's possible to have a squall in there, but actually you are beating the mass of clouds that were heading to the south. And oddly enough, wait a second. Yeah, late Wednesday and into Thursday, and you will be there on Thursday for sure. Looks like most of Fiji is going to have a fair amount of precipitation, but not covering the entire land mass. So it looks like, maybe 3-4 millimeters, that type of thing per hour. Not much at all. So, you're going to have a pretty good passage, but again, fairly fresh winds as you approach Savu Savu in the morning on Wednesday. Over.
Thank you very much for all that information, David. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you to Harbour Radio. Teresa on the side.
Okay, well, you guys have a good trip, and it was nice to hear about Samoa. We never actually got to Samoa. We made an attempt, but had a bit of a what you would call a medical emergency halfway up from Nui Tupatapu and headed back to Tonga. Actually, I had a cap on one of my teeth fall off, so we knew there was a dentist in Vavau, so we headed back. So we never ever did get to Samoa, but they are available by aircraft, aren't they? So maybe we'll get there one day. Okay, this is Gulf Harbour Radio. Is there anybody else?
Gulf Harbour Radio, this is Vin Deacon. Are you receiving? Over.
Yes, I certainly have got a good copy on you. I don't, Vendetta, is that correct? Over?
Yeah, Gulf Harbour, correct. This is Vendetta. We are en route from Fiji to Port Vila. Our position this evening is 17 degrees by 7 minutes south, 175 degrees by 6 east. We've got a speed of 5.3 knots under motor and our cruising by 8 degrees magnetic. We have a wind of 5 to 7 knots from the northeast as we're motoring. The southeast swell is 1.5 metres, the east swell is 1.5 metres, so things are a little lumpy, and the weather is fine. Over.
Did you get where they're going?
No.
You were so fast. I've got everything, but I didn't get where you are leaving and going to because it was just a bit fast for me. I have to turn around to change settings. Go ahead with the departure and where you're headed to. Over.
Yeah, Gulf Harbour, this is Vendetta. We've left Wunda Marina in Fiji, and we're going to Port Vila, and we expect to be there Monday evening or early Tuesday morning.
Got it. Okay, good signal, by the way. So off from Wunda and heading to Port Vila. 1757 south, 17506 east. Not too much wind around. Doing about 5.3 under motor, 258 magnetic. But wind is sort of northeast, about 5 to 7 knots. Southeast swell though, 1.5 metres, which is a bit of a pain in the neck. And estimating Vila Monday afternoon, latish or early Tuesday. So I will pass the microphone. You've probably got a good update before you left Fiji, but here's David.
Well, you too on arrival are going to have some fresh winds. I would say out of the east about 18 to 25 knots, 18 to 25. And let's see if you're going to get rained on. Hold on. No, Port Vila may be okay. Wait 1 minute. Yeah, I think.
Hang on.
Okay, we can deal with that. Over.
Go ahead again.
Okay, we almost doubled or did something there. But anyhow, yes, the rain's to the north and to the south of Port Vila, but you may be okay there at that time. The cloud models and the rain models are not exactly the most accurate in the world, but in any case, that's what it looks like. You may be dry on arrival, but definitely fresh winds. Over.
Yeah, we've got that, David. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that information. Over.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't sound as if we're looking at the satellite picture anyway, that the lovely big full moon is going to be much use to people at the moment, but it was rather beautiful here last night. Okay, all right, well, safe sailing to you guys, and just another reminder that we will not be on for a week. Is there anybody else for Gulf Harbour Radio?
Taku, this is sailing vessel Taku.
Oh, another good signal. Good morning, good evening to Tatu. You can tell that I've been flat out dealing with tradespeople today, so a bit worn out. Tatu, go ahead.
Yes, this is sailing vessel Taku, Tango Alpha Kilo Uniform with Pacifica and Curtis on board. We are currently underway to Akitaki, Cook Island 4 days ago, headed for Niue. We'll be in Niue tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So our position is 18 degrees, 59 minutes south, 169 degrees, 0 minutes west. and our speed over ground is 5.7 knots. Our heading is 290 true. We are getting 15 knots of wind, definitely from the southeast, 2 meter swell, and 30% cloud cover.
Well, you guys are going to have a good look at the moon then tonight. Okay, on your way to Niue, I hope there will be some. I'm just going to look it up when David's talking because I want to see how many people are there to make sure you can get on to a mooring board. It makes life so much easier in Niue. But let's have a look. You're 1759 south, 169 even west. 5.7 speed, 290 true, 15 knots from the southeast, 2 meters swell from the southeast, and 30% cloud cover. Here's David.
Okay, well, that's great. I don't need to tell you what your weather is because you're there and will be very shortly. We do have a METAR available to us, though. Both Patricia and I are pilots, and we always like to look at places that have airports and put out various things like METAR. So anyway, what that means is at the airport there in Niue, the wind is coming from 120 degrees true at 10 knots, and the temperature is, well, it's not that hot, 23 C, and your QNH, or your barometric pressure, is 1016. So anyway, it shows visibility of 10 kilometers and clouds scattered 1,800 feet and broken at 10,000. So you're not flying, so that won't matter. But anyway, it looks pretty nice. I hope you enjoy it there. When we were there, we really had a good time. Over.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that information. We did email about a morning call. We haven't heard back yet. We're going to have to air here.
Okay, I missed a bit of that because it's at our system here. It seems to be cutting in and out. The internet where I get the signal down from the north is not so great. But just for your information, I haven't got any sailboats at Niue at the moment, but there is one humongous cargo ship called the Papa Mau, and it is 116 meters long. So presumably he is outside of the mooring buoys, so that should be okay for you guys. So yeah, it looks pretty good. You'll be able to get a mooring board, and yeah, look into just hiring a car for the day, because it is a good way of getting around Niue and having a real good look at things. So all right, we'll enjoy it and have fun. Over.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Harbour Radio. And if Sonrisa is still on the net, we'll be standing by to pass you after the net. Over.
Okay, so stand by, Sonrisa. I think you said Sonrisa. Anyway, stand by to use the frequency very shortly. Is there anybody else for Gulf Harbour Radio? No, nothing heard. So we'll be clearing the frequency for a week and have a good time, everybody. Our weather is starting to warm up, so we're not so despondent as we have been in the past. And we'll be back hopefully in about a week's time. It will depend on what our roofers do. Okay, cheers, everybody. And the frequency, I'll put the frequency to Taku, and then we will be clear. Cheers all, have a good night.
Sonrisa, Taku.